Welcome back to Grammar Unit 3 about pronouns. In this video, we're going to cover pronoun usage and errors. As you take notes in your handout, feel free to pause the video at any time. Remember, we learn grammar in order to communicate our ideas clearly and effectively. So now that you know what pronouns are, let's review their usage rules and how to avoid errors that involve pronouns. As you write, you want to make sure that each pronoun has an antecedent within the sentence. So you need to make sure you establish a clear relationship between each pronoun and its antecedent. In this first example, the pronoun she does not have an antecedent in the sentence. She crept into the room, and then she placed the daggers by the murdered king. For clarity, your reader must know what your pronouns are referencing within the sentence, so make sure that you include an antecedent. I've rewritten the sentence with the noun Lady Macbeth to be more specific. Lady Macbeth crept into the room, and then she placed the daggers by the murdered king. Be aware of what you might be unintentionally communicating with your choices of words. Avoid sexist assumptions when choosing pronouns and possessive adjectives. For example, this first sentence might communicate that you assume that each of the group of scientists are male by using the possessive adjective his. If you don't know that each of the scientists are male identifying, using the plural pronoun all with the plural possessive adjective there is more inclusive. When should you use singular or plural pronouns? You need to make sure that all of the words in your sentences agree or match with each other. So pronouns must agree with their antecedents and verbs. Collective nouns can be tricky because they are singular when members of the group act as one unit, but they are plural when the members of the group act as individuals. Let's look at an example. The choir announced that it would perform at the benefit concert in New York. Here, the choir is acting as one unit in its performance, and so it is singular, and it takes a singular pronoun it. But in the second sentence, the choir unpacked their suitcases when they arrived at the hotel. This indicates that the members of the choir are acting individually, and therefore you need to use the plural. Avoid vague pronouns that could confuse your reader. Let's look at an example. This is why the hallucination takes the form of a dagger in Macbeth's mind. The demonstrative pronoun this needs to point to something, but in the sentence, the reader doesn't know what this is. If you change the pronoun to a demonstrative adjective and include a noun, this ambition is why the hallucination takes the form of a dagger in Macbeth's mind, your meaning now becomes clear. Avoiding pronoun errors. With our pronoun usage rules in mind, let's look at specific pronoun errors so that we can learn how to avoid them. Agreement. The pronoun does not agree in number with its antecedent. Jim and Spock set his taser to stun as he entered the abandoned ship. In this sentence, your antecedent is plural, Jim and Spock. So your pronoun needs to also be in the plural form they. Additionally, you need to change the possessive adjective there and the noun tasers to indicate they each have their own. Some indefinite pronouns are always singular, some are always plural, and some can be either singular or plural, depending on their antecedent. Let's take a look. Here is a list of some pronouns that are always singular. It's a good idea to jot these down in your notes. Here are pronouns that are always plural. And here are pronouns that can be either. Let's look at some examples. Some of the milk is gone. Milk is uncountable, so it acts as one unit and is singular. So that makes some, the indefinite pronoun, singular. In the second example, the antecedent is cupcakes, which is plural and countable, and so it makes the pronoun some plural. Some of the cupcakes are gone. So whether the pronoun is singular or plural, for these pronouns, it is determined by the antecedent. Antecedents and pronouns also affect the verbs, which must also agree. So it's important to know which of these indefinite pronouns are singular, which are plural, and which can be either. Here's the overview of these indefinite pronouns. Take a minute and jot them down in your notes. So let's look at another example. Each of the boys wants their parent to give them permission to attend the dance. Now we know from our list, each is always singular, even though its antecedent boys is plural. So the verb wants is fine in this sentence. The problems are with the plural possessive adjective their and the plural personal pronoun them. So we need to change the sentence to read, each of the boys wants his parent to give him permission to attend the dance. Now both pronouns and the possessive adjective agree because they are singular. However, the best solution could be to be as inclusive as possible by changing all of the related words to their plural forms. All of the boys want their parents to give them permission to attend the dance. Ambiguous pronoun antecedent. This problem occurs when the pronoun could refer to two possible antecedents in a sentence. Remember, clarity is key. Han told Luke that he could easily defeat the stormtrooper. We have two antecedents, Han and Luke. So who does Han mean? Well, knowing Han, he means himself. So let's change the sentence to read, Han told Luke that Han would easily defeat the stormtrooper. In some sentences, there is no clear antecedent, so we call this an unclear pronoun reference. Let's look at an example. They said in the blog that pursuing a life coach certification would be a wise financial move. We have no idea who they are, so we need to change this sentence. Sometimes changing the sentence means eliminating the pronoun altogether. The life coach instructors stated in their blog that pursuing a certification would be a wise financial move. Pronoun case error. Sometimes a pronoun does not agree in case with its function in the clause. Do you remember what I mean by pronoun case? Let's review. Pronoun case is determined by the purpose or function of the pronoun in the sentence. So you need to ask yourself, is the pronoun acting as a subject? Is it a direct object? What is its function? Here are our cases. We've got the subjective case, I, we, you, he, she, they, and it, and the objective case, me, us, you, him, her, and them. The subjective case is required if the pronoun serves as a subject or a predicate nominative. But if it's acting as an object, such as a direct object, an indirect object, or an object of a preposition, we must use the objective case. There's also a third case, the possessive case, which shows ownership or possession. So let's look at a problematic sentence. Let's keep this information between you and I. The problem is between is a preposition, and so it requires objects of its preposition. You and I are our pronouns, but I is in the subjective case, and we need it to be in the objective case. So we change that to between you and me. We'll continue to review pronoun case in later videos as well. Now let's try finding and correcting pronoun errors in your example sentences on your handout. Remember to follow each of these steps. Also, remember as you're reading, the relationships between pronouns and their antecedents should be clear and they should agree in number. There's often more than one way to correct pronoun errors, so there won't be any particular right answer. Pause the video now and come back when you're finished. Let's look at your answers. I've identified all of the pronouns, but I've bolded the pronouns that are problematic. In this first sentence, I wondered if they would come to my room to apologize. We don't know who they are, so we need to change that to indicate something specific. I wondered if my sisters would come to my room to apologize. Please take those with you when you leave. Those is a demonstrative pronoun, but we don't know what they're referring to. So we should change it, and in this case, I've changed it to a demonstrative adjective and added a noun folders. Please take those folders with you when you leave. As Claire and Toy stared at the chessboard, she slowly reached for her pen. We've got two antecedents here, Claire and Toy, so we don't know who she is, and we don't know which pen she is reaching for. So we need to edit this sentence for clarity. As Claire and Toy stared at the chessboard, Toy slowly reached for her own pen. Nobody in any of the classes are prepared for their exams today. Now you know from your notes that the pronoun nobody is always singular. So we need to change the rest of the sentence so everything agrees. I've corrected the sentence to make everything singular. Nobody in any of the classes is prepared for her exam today. The tiger bit his trainer after the long journey, so he was quarantined for 2 weeks. The problem here is that we don't know who was quarantined, he or the trainer. To whom is our personal pronoun he referring? So I've restructured the sentence entirely. The tiger was quarantined for 2 weeks because he bit his trainer after the long journey. Sometimes it's not a matter of substituting different words, but restructuring sentences. Miss Smith asked if the faculty and us were happy with the new computer program. This example shows us why it's important to start by identifying verbs first. Here, we see the verb were, and so we asked ourselves what the subjects are. The subjects of were are faculty and us. But us is not in the subjective case. We wouldn't say us were. One trick to figure out which case you need to use when you're looking at a compound noun is to eliminate part of it and look at what is left. Would you say us were happy? That helps you identify which case you need to use, the subjective case, we. The correction reads, Miss Smith asked if the faculty and we were happy with the computer program. Great work! Now you're ready to tackle pronoun exercise 2 on your handout. Once you complete that assignment, you will check your answers on the key that your teacher will provide. If you have any questions after you correct your work, please watch the answer key video, and of course, you can always ask your teacher for further assistance. Remember, grammar is power, and clarity is key. This is the end of Unit 3. See you next time.